The stories that we find honest are the ones that come from our own lives. My earlier work, which was made into Savitha's productions, such as Soul Cages, such as Prophet, such as Yudh, and such as Chains, the one we are working on, they've all come from some facet of my personal experiences, my personal life. And there is an honesty that comes with such work because we know it's really happened. Therefore, the content we were looking for was coming from real lives as opposed to coming from mythology, as opposed to coming from religion, where we always knew that we had heard these but we haven't seen these. But in these cases, these were stories that were coming from our lives, which meant that they were true in everybody's life. Soul Cages, a production that we'll never forget, only because the kinds of visceral reactions it got from the audience about how they were completely speechless watching something of that nature. That story similarly came from some personal stories of mine, of Savitha's. The story of Soul Cages follows a 6-year-old child who dies and goes to heaven, only to find that heaven is not exactly what is painted to us in our daily lives. The core behind that story was that sometimes when we do things for other people with the best of intentions, they are perceived in exactly the opposite manner, with exactly the opposite view on what we thought by the one that is being benefited or being impacted. And Soul Cages followed that in a very philosophical realm to bring home a truth on what is heaven and what is life beyond our death. Is there a life beyond our death, and what happens? It is a theme that is unforgettable for all of us.
It was not just the content, it was the music as well. Now, while Carnatic music has an audience base, there is a large part of the audience that typically does not go to Bharatanatyam performances, that do not engage with Carnatic music in its traditional sense. And moreover, the stories that we had to narrate through our performances couldn't have used the Carnatic music in the manner that it is used in a traditional Bharatanatyam performance. It had to be changed, it had to be re-envisioned for our productions. So when we met Rajkumar Bharati, we took a lot of sources of inspiration, music from different genres like rock, trance, Hindustani, Western classical music. And the reason we did this was because it inspired us. It inspired the feelings, the emotions behind the story that Shri had written. So when these become the basis for Rajkumar's music, and his genius was able to re-envision these genres in the classical Carnatic music format, he created the brilliant score that accompanied our productions.
When I listened to the story of Soul Cages for the first time, the one thing which struck me almost immediately was the way in which the story was conceived. And so immediately I knew this was not an unusual one as far as the music goes. One thing I understood was they didn't want the regular stuff. Even I didn't want the regular stuff to be made there. It had to be unique, and I had to slightly deviate from my normal method, yet try to follow a pattern.
On a regular basis, I do a lot of dance projects because of RKB sir. And when he first approached me with Savitha's project, he said, it's very different, I'll come and I'll brief you in the studio about it. So he had come and he had a hard disk that was full of music, and he said there was already music pre-done, and then we have to add some layers to it, acoustic layers to it, and then I do the sound design for it. When I played it, I was a little taken aback because I have also worked on films, I have worked on traditional music, I have worked on world music. The overall soundscape of the music production had almost every element in it. I was initially very skeptical, and this is not world music, this is dance. My skepticism slowly died, with the way the project started evolving from Soul Cages to Prophet to Chains.
far I have not found any other dancer or producer with similar expectations. And till now, Savitha's projects are totally different.